Hi guys, Nick60 here, coming to you with... Well, I hadn't announced this because I didn't think about it at the time, but this is going to be a weapon review for Star Citizen. And the reason I decided to do these is because, start this series is because when looking around I haven't been able to find any video reviews of guns, and it's mostly just a little bit of forum talk back and forth. So I've decided, in order to try to help things along and give people a bit of a buying guide, since you can get a lot of these in the Voyager Direct store right now, I just throw together some video reviews of these things, try to help people decide what they want. Before we get started though, I do have something I'd like to cover real quick. Sigomil has commented that he's worried about the CryEngine 3 not providing large enough maps for a game of this scope and scale. So, as a legitimate concern, since space is a big place, I've decided that I will quickly answer his comments with two theories of my own. I'm sure there's many other options out there, but these are just two ways in which I think the problem could be solved. Or is being solved, I guess, is probably the better way to put it. Option number one is it's quite possible to have dynamic loading screens. Leave the ship loaded and just load the environment. They've already said they're doing something similar with entry into a planet, where you'll be passing through clouds, which serves as a transition from space to planet. You could easily split space up into sectors and do something similar. And since space is a big place and there's a whole lot of nothing, as you move from sector to sector, you get a dynamic loading screen that looks like you're still traveling through space. Same thing can be done when transitioning into and out of FTL. That's method number one. I would think probably, that I think of how I think they're solving the problem. Method number two, and to be perfectly honest, probably the more likely of the two options, is simply after they get more modules built and begin to fit more and more things together, they're just going to migrate over to a different background engine. And if the game is already built to be able to do this, then it won't cause very many problems, if any. So those are my two theories. Now, why we're here. Today I'm going to look at the entry-level gun in Behring's M-series laser cannon. The M3A is the first in their line and the default weapons equipped to many ships. Now, for the space-based testing, I chose to use my Aurora as opposed to the Hornet and go into the drone sim simply out of simplicity. Using this setup, it's a whole lot easier to just tunnel vision into a target and focus on using the lasers than it is to worry about dogfighting with other players, because you actually have to pay attention and twist and turn, while with the drones you can sort of tunnel vision from target to target. So, the M3 lasers. Pros and cons. Well, the pros are it's cheap at 4,000 credits, which is, I think, like $4. They're the cheapest lasers out. Well, some of the cheapest lasers out there. Now, another pro is relatively low power demand, and they do not have a whole lot of heating problems, so you can keep going for a while, and they recharge quickly. So cost and extended firefight capability are the major pros there. Now, what are the cons? The cons are they're short range and they have a slow rate of fire, and their bolts travel relatively slowly. Also, they tend to have fairly poor power efficiency and heat displacement. So once they do overheat, you're going to be sitting for a while. But that tends to be an issue with most of the guns. At least the ones I've used so far. So what you end up with is a relatively short-range gun that you can keep using for a while, but once it's done, it's probably done. And it will take you a little bit to be able to chew through targets compared to some of the other weapons. However, that's not to say that it's a bad gun. It's just entry-level, starter gun. Something to get you used to the game, and to be fair, its slow rate of fire and bolt speed feels a whole lot like other sci-fi movies or games. So it certainly delivers that kind of sci-fi feel, even if it's not the most combat effective weapon out there. If you want to rely on the M3A lasers, probably your best options would be to be fire by volume. Try to grab, since they're cheap, as many as you can and just load up and then get in close, and you'll be firing all these different lasers simultaneously into a target. The big advantage is you'll be firing all these different lasers simultaneously into a target, as opposed to having to move from gun to gun trying to keep your heat managed. Well, heat, power supply, ammunition, you get the idea. So that's its so again, cost, which results in fire by volume, biggest advantage out there. Still, it does have the issue of that slow rate of fire, so what I would like to see personally added is the ability to adjust firing synchronization. You could synchronize your guns in such a way that instead of firing 2 simultaneous bolts, it goes every other gun. This will provide a higher rate of fire, and the more of them you have, the faster rate of fire you're going to have, which results in increased chances of hitting, as well as, technically, a chance, because of this, for increased damage output while decreasing your already low power demand and further extending the duration of fire that you can provide with the lasers. So, overall, yeah, I agree with Whitley's guide rating. It's an gun, but it's certainly not bad and certainly not trash. It's just a gun that you're going to have to get used to its weak points, while taking advantage, once again, of the fact that while you have it, it can be fired relatively constantly. So, yeah, that's looking at the M3A. If you have any questions or comments, again, feel free to leave them in the comments. I'll either answer them there or in the beginning of the next video, which will likely be the Bulldog, which is a heavy CF series repeater. Until next time, I'll be seeing you guys. Nick60 signing off.